Hey there, everybody. Marlo Rutz here, stopping in. I wanted to share some really practical tips on helping to shift from an emotional state in what can be a reactive state to a more empowered way to respond in a very overwhelming situation. Let me set this up first. We're human beings. It doesn't matter how the intention that we have. If we want to serve the world around us with peace and joy every minute of the day, well, we are human beings. So oftentimes, if you find yourself in your life where you want to serve everybody and you do want to do it peacefully and without overwhelm, but sometimes the circumstance starts to build up, and there might be circumstances in your life that are a little overwhelming, or they can challenge you, or they can leave you feeling frustrated and even angry, even though we have good intentions. And then what happens is we're trying to care for others, and maybe we're repressing feelings and we're stuffing things down, situations that are happening with people in our lives or people that we're trying to care for. And ultimately, you might find yourself, tell me if you can relate to this, where you find yourself just all of a sudden reacting in a really angry way or a frustrated way because you feel tired or just tapped and triggered, and you don't even know it. Because oftentimes, when we want to please those around us and we want to serve in a certain way, we can be repressing our feelings, and then it can show up in a negative way because we didn't address it as it went along. It's kind of like leaving that oil light on, that indicator on our in our car. It will just all of a sudden explode, and we go, well, what just happened there? And then what the way the action is that we lash out, we are very reactive, and we might say things that we regret. And then the result that we're left with is possibly regret. And now that leads us with more overwhelm and maybe anxiety, and it just doesn't go well. So these are my 7 steps, because you know what? This comes from the coaching world, working with clients. This seems to come up a lot. And in my own, we're human beings. It comes up in my own world. So a lot of the steps that I give in any arena, they're things that I've probably walked, and then I can share that professionally. So the first step is to just pause. It may sound elementary, but to pause and avoid the temptation to react. It's so easy to react in a stressful, overwhelmed situation, especially if you feel like, you feel like you're giving, and maybe you feel like you feel like maybe it's rational, maybe it's irrational, but you feel like you're just being taken advantage of. Your kindness, your goodness, those feelings may be valid, but there's in the steps here, there's a place to sort those out. So rather than sorting them out with the words and the reaction, take a pause. It may seem elementary, but really just pause and avoid the temptation to react, because we're never going to have any resolve with the emotion that got us into that emotion. If we're reacting in an angry way because we're feeling angry, it's not going to get resolved with an angry reaction. The second step is, again, it seems so simple, but just to breathe and embrace bare minimum days. If you need to step away, you just breathe, step away from the situation. If you force yourself to not react, step away from the situation and breathe. Go away. Your mindset is going to change ultimately. It may take moments, it may take a day, it may take a couple of days, but allow yourself to breathe, because oftentimes we are so laser focused in on our world around us, so close, that we can't see the 30,000 foot view that we need to see the situation from. So give yourself the gift of breathing and stepping away. If you need to take a day, maybe you have to go to work. Maybe you're saying, I've got responsibilities. Well, as soon as you can, take time to have a bare minimum day, which means eat, breathe, sleep, repeat. You might have a cycle of things going on in your life where you just need to take a breath, take a bare minimum day, and sort it out so that you can see things with a more clear perspective. Because what is going on is probably something that has been accumulative. It's been coming on for quite some time, and you owe it to yourself to get to the root of the matter. And it starts with stepping away and then taking a breath. And then in the third step is stepping away and recognizing your trigger. A lot of times what I find in working with people is that what is at the root of what they're really feeling, and that anger or overwhelm is rooted in something that might involve people pleasing or codependent behaviors. So step away and realize what triggered you. I had a client one time whose daughter said something to her about her not being the breadwinner, and she wanted to react in a very angry way, and she needed to step back. There was some validity to what she was feeling. She was feeling a sense of a lack of worthiness. And yes, she needed to have a conversation with her daughter about respect and choosing her words, and not reacting in an angry way, the way that the daughter reacted. But the mother also needed to step back and see why she felt so triggered in that, so that she could respond in a more empowered, less reactive way. So stepping away and recognizing what the trigger is. Maybe the trigger is that you feel like people are overlooking what you're doing in the home or for your kids. Maybe that's what it is. And just take a step away and see where that is rooted, and look at it from a broader perspective. It will give you so much clarity and hope for recognizing why that you're responding and how you might be able to do it differently the next time. The third is to replenish. You know what? We try serving so many people oftentimes, and what we end up doing is serving and serving and serving and serving from an empty platter. So our reaction, people say, well, why do I react one way in the same situation, and in another time I react in a completely different way? You might have been more replenished in the more peaceful way when you responded in a more peaceful way. So take time to replenish. If you are a Christian and you find your truth and your peace and freedom in searching the word, go to the index and look up the feeling that you're feeling, and search in the Bible for truths that can help to reset your mindset before you react, so that you can get that armor of truth as a foundation before you respond, and use that as part of the way that you replenish and take a breath and step away. Maybe one of your bare minimum days is just to fill yourself with truths that can give you a foundation to help the way that you respond. The fifth is to reframe the narrative then. And all these steps can happen in moments. It can be like doing a cartwheel. We got to practice the way that we step away and do these things. But ultimately, handling these situations with these 7 steps can maybe take days at first, and sometimes it can just take moments when we get more skilled at it. But to reframe your narrative is so important. Trust me, I get it. We want to lash out sometimes with words and those feelings that we have been harboring, and they may be very true, because where we need to search ourselves, sometimes others need to search themselves in the things that they need to change, or the way that they need to see things, or the way that they're reacting. But we can only be responsible for our reaction. And sometimes our reaction leads us to using words and phrases that are very hurtful, and can leave a gunpowder, if you will, around the situation that you will ultimately, like I said, you might regret it. So reframe the narrative. If you want to say things in a real, just what you feel is a truth-filled way, well, they need to hear this, and I'm just finally going to unload. Yes, we can justify anything. But when we step away, breathe, replenish ourselves, determine our triggers, where it's coming from, ultimately, when we're at that bird's eye view, we can look at the situation and reframe the way that we communicate with others, because the last thing we want to do is to hinder those relationships, especially with the people that we love. Which leads me to step number 6. It is very, very important to express how we feel with the people that we love, the people that we care for, the people that we are building relationships with. It's very important to express our feelings, but when it is ultimately rooted in with a sense of clarity and with a sense of love. Absolutely, 100%, there is no reason to repress feelings. If anybody has ever given you the advice that, oh, you're fine, don't worry about it, this too shall pass. Of course things will pass, but they may pass in a way that where you are so built up from repression. What is repressed will be expressed. But the goal is to express with clarity, a clear mind, and with love. Because believe me, I have had the temptation of doing it other ways. Believe me, I am speaking of these truths from a professional angle and from a personal angle. I am speaking to you professionally, but also straight from my heart because I have been there, y'all. And then the seventh step is to reach out for support. You know, it's very important to have maybe one person or a tribe of people that you trust that will speak truth into your life. I know for me personally, I spent so many years picking up the phone, calling girlfriends and just hashing it out and talking it out and just pouring it out and really kind of just complaining, going around the mountain over and over again with no resolve. Reach out for help with somebody that you trust, your tribe of people that will be able to, in that moment, be pulled back and have the bird's eye view for you, maybe, be able to speak truth in love and that you trust will give you some constructive thoughts or criticisms, or also maybe they will help you add to the value of what you are feeling. Because within these steps, one point that I want to make is it is very important for you to acknowledge and place a value on what you're feeling, because our bodies, our minds, our souls, they tell us a story over time. And what's going on with you, if you're feeling things physically, maybe you're feeling aches and pains, maybe your mind is just, that's why the original feeling in the beginning of this video was that you're feeling tired, tapped, and triggered. That's telling, there's things in your life that are telling you a story that need to be addressed. So place a value on your feelings because they are so important, and find somebody that you can talk to. You can reach out if you need professional support. You can reach out to me. This is what I do. I have a passion for helping people sort through their emotions, their mindsets, and what might be they might be hanging on to stories that are deep rooted in them that are causing them to react in a way that they don't like. And that is exactly what I do. You can always find me through my website at marlorutz.com. If you're on YouTube, thank you so much for subscribing to this channel. And don't forget to hit the little ring-a-ling-a-ling button, bell, because then when I post new content, and I'm going to be posting more and more, you will be notified. And I pray that on some days, that information that I put out there speaks directly to you. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, snarly, you're caring for others, you're tired, tapped, and triggered, you want to lash out, you want to tell them the way that it is because you know what? I deserve it. I've been holding it in. Don't do it in that moment. Honor your feelings. They're so important, but don't do it in that moment. Resist the temptation to lash out in anger, because the story you will be left with might be filled with regret and shrapnel laying all around. And we don't want that with the people that we love. So the steps are, again, avoid that temptation to react in an emotionally charged way, to breathe. Give yourself a bare minimum day. You deserve it. Step away, eat, breathe, sleep, repeat. That's it on some days. I promise you, you're going to gain clarity just in that. Step away, recognize why you're so triggered, replenish. You deserve to be replenished. We replenish the refrigerator for the people that we love in the pantry. Why would you not replenish the most valuable resource in your family? That is you, your mind, your soul, your spirit. Reframe the narrative. Oh, girl, or guy, whoever's watching, when you want to say it the way you want to say it, give yourself the joy of reframing that narrative and saying it in an empowered, clear way that is expressed with clarity and love. And then reach out for support. Find your tribe, find your people. And if I can ultimately be one of your people, I would be honored to go on the journey with you to help you understand and recognize why you might be responding in an unfavorable way. If you lay your head on the pillow at the end of the day and you're just not so fine, and you know there's some things that you could use some support with, I have needed that support myself. I have found it, and I love it so much that I became a certified master empowerment coach so that I could help people to sort through this, because you deserve a good life. You deserve to have joy-filled relationships around you. And I would be honored to be a part of that. Okay. Thanks for watching. And until next time, I'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.